Okay, in this lesson, this is the guided tour of Excel. And here's where we're going to explore all the different areas of the screen and see what they're used for. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the title bar. And this is that top area of the screen up here. Now the first thing you have is an autosave on and off button. We're just going to leave that on. In Excel 365, they've gone to a model where they automatically save the file. So you don't have to remember to save it every 5 minutes. Every time you make a change, it's going to get saved. You do have a save button in case you want to force a save at any time though. Has the name of your file, and then over in the middle you have a search control. This is a really neat control because it does a couple of different things. First thing it'll do is let you search for anything in your document. So if I want to look for where I have the word ribbons, I could type, and it's down here. I go to find and document ribbons, and Excel brought me right to where the word ribbons is in my cell. But the other thing it lets you do is actually use the help too. So say I want to learn how to do a VLOOKUP. And now it comes down and it says, oh, I've got actions here. I can go and learn how to do a VLOOKUP. So this is a really handy control. You could pretty much type anything in here about Excel and it'll help you out. Over to the right, you have your Office 365 account information, and then you have the window controls, and you have the minimize, which brings it down to the taskbar. X will close your document, and this button here will put it to one section of the screen, and you see they have many different layouts here. This is kind of useful too if you're snapping your Excel to different parts of the screen. So I could click on that one, it goes to this half, and then I could go back to maximize, and it comes back to the full screen. Now we're going to move down to the ribbon area. Now the ribbons are designated by this area in your screen here, and each ribbon has a menu on top of it. So if I click through these, you'll see how underneath it the icons and the pictures and the commands change kind of based on what you're clicking on. So if I'm on formulas, I get a lot of controls and tools that work with formulas. If I'm on data, I'll get a lot of things that work with data. Go to the review tab. There's ways to review your document and kind of update things. And view will have a lot of different ways to modify the way your windows work. Now, throughout this course, we're going to go through most of the commands on these ribbons, but let's just talk about how this ribbon bar works. Like I'll click on the cell here. That will bold a cell. So I can click that, and it just makes the cell bold. If I highlight several, if that control will support doing several, you can click on it, and it'll do it to all of them. Okay, and like I said, we're going to get really more specific on all these as the course goes through. So we just want to see how this ribbon works at first. Now it does take up a lot of room, so one of the things you can do is if I right click in the ribbon area, I can collapse the ribbon. And if I click on that, then it collapses up. Now the ribbon will come back when I do the actual command. If I click on home, the ribbon comes back. It lets me do my command. And if I click off, it goes away again. If I want that ribbon to be back permanently, just right click on the menus and click on the check to collapse the ribbon, and it'll come back. And I'm going to go ahead and unbold these cells. The next thing below the ribbons is the quick access toolbar. We're going to talk about that in a later lesson. Below that, you have the name box and the formula bar. The name box is pretty handy. We talked about a cell address in a previous lesson and how that is just how you identify what cell you're in. So the name box, one of the things it can do is it can let you go to a certain cell. So if I want to go to P25, I can click in there and go to P25. And it goes down there. Now if I want to go back to A10, I can just type in there again, A10. And again, there's a lot more things this name box can do that we'll get into later. The formula bar also is going to have a lot of capabilities we'll see later. For now, just know that whenever you're on a cell, it displays what's in the cell, just the contents of the cell. Okay, so as I'm clicking on these cells, you see it's exactly what's in the formula bar. And it might seem redundant to have it in two places. We're going to see later when we're building complex formulas how it can be really, really helpful. One thing I do want to show you is you see how it says exactly what's in the cell now, but if I click on one of these green cells, it just has the value of what's in there. The formula bar doesn't really show you the formatting or any special things like that. It shows you exactly what's in there. And again, that will be really useful later when we're going on to build things. If I get my mouse right underneath that formula bar, where it turns into a sizing icon, Then I can click and drag it and make it bigger. And this is really useful when we have large complex formulas. Most of the time we're going to keep it at one line though. Now let's move down a little bit, and to move down what we're going to do first is I'm going to go all the way over to the right, and you see this scroll bar all the way over here. This helps you scroll down, up and down in your worksheet. So I can scroll down. You can also do that with a horizontal scroll bar. You can go to the right and come back by clicking here, or you can just grab the scroll bar and just drag it all the way over. That might be easier. So Excel has over 16,000 columns and over 1 million rows. So you may have to use these scroll bars from time to time to move around in your worksheet because you can't see everything at the same time. So this is our main worksheet area, and it's primarily just made up of cells. Now we'll get into putting some charts and graphs up there too, but mostly you just have cells in a worksheet area. Now just to review, the column headings are letters, and as I scroll to the right, I'll use my arrow keys this time. They go all the way through A to Z, and then they start at AA, AB, AC, go all the way through the A's, and then they go to BA, BB, and BC. The rows just kind of number sequentially all the way down. And just a quick refresher, if we want to resize columns or rows, we can get our cursor right between the two columns that we want to size and move it over. Or we can just double click between those headings to auto size to the widest cell in that column. And same thing for rows. Sheet tabs there are at the bottom, and we've talked about those before. You can click on the different sheets to do different work based on how you organize your workbook. And then finally you have the bottom row, which is kind of the status bar. There's just some statuses we'll look at later in the course. Over to the right you have some display settings, and you have some different views. We've got a normal view, what's called a page layout view, and then a print preview. And we'll go back to normal. And the last thing we'll look at on this worksheet is the zoom slider. Now what that'll do is that helps you zoom in and out of your worksheet. This is really good for presentations and such. So if I'm looking here, if I want to zoom in on the worksheet because I'm sharing my screen, I can click this plus arrow and it'll make it bigger without actually changing the size of the font. It'll still pronounce the same way. We're just zooming in on an area of the worksheet. And if I want to make it smaller, just click on the left side. There's a minus sign to make it go down. And you can always just type in a number too. On this 110%, I just click on that and just go right to 50 or 100, whatever I want, and click OK. So that's about it for the guided tour. Now you're ready for the next lesson.